Good Saturday morning, cool, crisp fall morning. The way the sun is, it's going to make the screen crazy. My kids gave me a circle light. I don't know how to put it together. They keep promising me they're coming to do it, so we're going to have to live with the in and out of the light. Maybe if I move this direction, I don't know if that's going to help. I have great big heavy mission oak chairs that my grandfather, I don't think he made them, but they were his. Look how heavy they are. Maybe they're not heavy. Maybe I'm weak. Oh my gosh. Okay, you can tell we're not very, I don't know if it's going to help at all. You can tell we're not very professional. This is not a high end. So if some big fancy publisher wants to take me down, just realize I'm a little mom and pop shop. I'm doing something a little, besides moving furniture on my live read, I'm doing something a little different. I'm going to feature an excerpt from a book I want you to buy and have in this time of corona and depression and feeling discouraged, and you just need something light, but you don't want to have a daily devotion. I just think this book is it. My son sent it to me for my birthday from Brazil, well, from Amazon, but my son in Brazil sent it to me. And I just opened it to a random page. And do you miss picture books from when you were kids? I loved picture books. And one of the things he says in the introduction is, I'm surprised. Oh, look at that beautiful page. No, that one, not. I mean, that one's beautiful too, but I skipped one. Well, of course, I won't see it again. He said, look at the colors. And it's all written like somebody's journal. And he said in the introduction, oh, you read the introduction. I never was a kid to do that. I like to read from picture to picture. And I remembered being like that. It has a little Winnie the Pooh-esque to it. But let me start this morning with this sweet thought. And I have to show, so if you have little siblings, this is a good book for them. Hello, he says. Let me turn the page. And I'm having to read mirror image here and in cursive. I'm so small, said the mole. Yes, said the boy. I can't read it backward. But you make a huge difference. That's how I felt as a teacher with high school students. You guys make a huge difference. What do you want to be when you grow up? Kind, said the boy. Wouldn't that be a great thing for us to aspire to? Instead of an astrophysicist or the richest person in the world, I want to be kind when I grow up. What do you think success is? Asked the boy. To love, said the mole. Well, you know I love that. Isn't it a great book? Let me let y'all see the pictures. See, even in the rainy times, they're there. Now, this one gets humorous, and I love. It's about cake. Well, hello. Do you have a favorite saying? Asked the boy. Yes, said the mole. What is it? If at first you don't succeed, have some cake. Isn't that a great way to look at life? I see. Does it work? Every time. Just a tiny taste. And this is the last bit I'm going to read. I got you a delicious cake, said the mole. Did you? The boy replies. Yes. Where is it? I ate it, said the mole. Oh, but I got you another. Did you? Where's that one? The same thing seems to have happened to it. So I just think this is a precious book. And so you can just read little bits of it, feel better for the day, look at the pictures, and just see the good things, relationships and love and people that you care about. It's called The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse. And it is by Charlie Mackesy. I'm trying to see the publisher. Harper One. So I highly encourage you. It feels good to the touch. The colors, the gold, you can see the gold sparkle. The pictures are great. I really encourage you guys to get a book that makes you happy or do whatever in this time. Not whatever, but find. I had a nanny once that said, find what makes you happy. Um, all right, so my Walmart grocery pickup is ready, but I'm not going because I'm reading to y'all. And I know it's early morning, and most of you in high school are still sleeping. Are any of you back with football games and things like that? I slept late. I slept till 8:30. That's really late for me. And I rolled out of bed and brushed my hair and put on a little lipstick, and here I am. I've had chatted on Discord. So Sid Arthur, whoever is out there, um, Discord is really fun. Good morning, Angel. I read, you missed me reading your brother's book. I really want all of us, we need to read this to the baby. I don't want to say her name here. And I had something to tell you. Isn't it terrible? I have to talk to my kids through YouTube. I had something to tell you that was happy, but I've already forgotten what it is. So, good morning. May there always be an angel by your side with my lipstick on it. I miss you, baby. Oh, that reminds me. Hey, Dylan. That reminds me, I talked to my father last night. Okay, I'm going to Walmart later, but that's all I've got lined up for the day. So maybe we can get together. I talked to my dad. The kids call him Papa, and he listens. He surprised me. I mean, he made it sound like every now and then, but he's told me enough for me to know. Hi, Ace Penguins. I'm so glad. He's told me, my dad has told me enough that he listens more than he lets on. So I kind of thought that when you come on and give me a shout out, if you've heard my dad's stories, because he's my inspiration for being a reader. And I think if Kelly ever listens anymore, I know you've had technical problems. Instead, he wants me to read East of Eden instead of The Grapes of Wrath. So I might do what my daddy says. So if you guys listen regularly, and you come on to my live readings, come say hey to Papa too. Give him a shout out, and then he'll know that you guys are sending him well wishes from where he lives. All right, so my people that mark, it doesn't show me the time on here. My good followers that mark time, could you mark this time? 7:26 is when we're going to read chapter 10. The day passed as much as the day before had. Mrs. Hurst and Miss Bingley had spent some hours of the morning with the invalid. So the invalid, the sick. Thank you for loving my readings, Ace Penguins. I appreciate that. An invalid is a person that's in bed, not able to get around if you're sick for an extended period of time. We don't really use that word too much anymore. Who continued, though slowly, to mend. And in the evening, Elizabeth joined their party in the drawing room. The loo table, however, did not appear. Mr. Darcy was writing, and Miss Bingley, seated near him, was watching the progress of his letter and repeatedly calling off his attention by messages to his sister. Mr. Hurst and Mr. Bingley were at piquet, which is a card game, if I remember correctly. I am so ADHD that they're having conversation in the Discord group, and I'm so nosy. I want to know what they're talking about. So we really do chat a lot in there, and I will put the link up for Discord. I don't think I know how to do it from my phone while I'm reading. So I like to say, oh, Ramya is new. Let me say hi. You see, I'm such a nerd. I'm sorry for those of you that are here to read. I do this for myself. So when I start monetizing, I'll do a better job, but I'm not going to ever monetize. I don't want to say ever, but it's likely I'll never monetize. All right, let me try again. PK, I believe, is a type of card game. Let's ask, hey Siri, what is the game PK?
Okay, I found this on the web for what is the game PK? Check it out.
Oh no, it went to, that wasn't very helpful. It went to a dating app. So I don't think they had dating apps back then. But I'm pretty sure it's a card game. and Mrs. Hurst was observing their game. Elizabeth took up some needlework and was sufficiently amused in attending to what passed between Darcy and his companion. The perpetual commendations of the lady, either on his handwriting or on the evenness of his lines or on the length of his letter, with the perfect unconcern with which her praises were received. So you see this dynamic that's going on between Darcy and I think he's sitting with Miss Bingley. Yeah. And she's just complimenting everything he does, the way he writes, what he says, how long he's taking to write. She just gives him compliment after compliment. And Mr. Darcy's like, he could care less. He's confident in himself. He doesn't need her praise. Formed a curious dialogue and was exactly in unison with her opinion of each. How delighted Miss Darcy will be to receive such a letter. He made no answer. You write uncommonly fast. You're mistaken. I write rather slowly. How many letters you must have occasion to write in the course of a year. Letters of business, too. How odious, difficult. Homework is odious oftentimes. How odious I should think them. It is fortunate, then, that they fall to my lot instead of to yours. He just cuts her. Pray tell your sister that I long to see her. So Miss Darcy is the sister. I have already told her so once, by your desire. You've already asked me that. I've already done it. I'm afraid you do not like your pen. Let me mend it for you. I mend pens remarkably well. Thank you, but I always mend my own. How can you contrive to write so even? He was silent, like he's annoyed by her. Tell your sister I'm delighted to hear of her improvement on the harp, and pray let her know that I'm quite in raptures with your beautiful little design for a table, and I think it infinitely superior to Miss Grantley's. Will you give me leave to prefer your raptures till I write again? At present, I have not room to do them justice. So he's like, can I just tell her that later? I don't really want to write it now. Ace Penguin, help me get an A in community college reading. Oh, yay. I'm glad you're doing well. That makes me happy. Usually, that first freshman year, I'm assuming then you're not in freshman year, English is composition, and they don't read so much. So was that an advanced course? It was like world literature or women's issues, women's studies, or was it just a freshman English literature course? I'm always curious to know what other schools are doing. So, let me write it later, he said. Oh, it's of no consequence. I shall see her in January. But do you always write such charming long letters to her, Mr. Darcy? They are generally long, but whether always charming, it is not for me to determine. It is a rule with me that a person who can write a long letter with ease cannot write ill. She is just a suck-up. That will not do for a compliment to Darcy, Caroline, cried her brother, because he does not write with ease. He studies too much for words of 4 syllables. Do not you, Darcy? My style of writing is very different from yours. Oh, cried Miss Bingley. Charles writes in the most careless way imaginable. He leaves out half his words and blots the rest, like smudges them. My ideas flow so rapidly that I have not time to express them, by which means my letters sometimes convey no ideas at all to my correspondents. Bingley's making fun of himself. Your humility, Mr. Bingley, said Elizabeth, must disarm reproof. Hey, Priyanshu. I knew it was 8:20, but it's not hot here. It's nice and cool. You can see I'm in my sweatshirt. So this dynamic of relationships, do you think Miss Bingley's trying to flirt with Mr. Darcy, or is that just her way of being to control the dialogue? She just needs to be the center of attention. What do you think about her? Nothing is more deceitful, said Darcy, than the appearance of humility. It is often only carelessness of opinion and sometimes an indirect boast. And which of the two do you call my little recent piece of modesty? The indirect boast. For you are really proud of your defects in writing because you consider them as proceeding from a rapidity of thought and carelessness of execution, which, if not estimable, remember how many times I've said I can't say certain words? Oh, Tyler, you're back here with crazy things. English literature course. Alvaro. Alvaro, thank you. I'm really glad. That's my hope that as you read along, it builds your fluency and comprehension. Fortnite as in Fortnite or Fortnite as in the game like Free Fire, Fortnite? I'm just trying to see if it makes a pattern or if you're saying something inappropriate. That's my teacher face. I don't tolerate inappropriate, which is just going to urge you to annoy me more, right? So I love how Darcy rips him down. The power of doing anything with quickness is always much prized by the possessor, and often without any attention to the imperfection of the performance. When you told Mrs. Bennet this morning that if you ever resolved on quitting Netherfield, you should be gone in 5 minutes, you meant it to be a sort of panegyric, of compliment to yourself. And yet, what is there so laudable in a precipitance which must leave very necessary business undone and can be of no real advantage to yourself or anyone? So he's just tearing him to bits. Nay, cried Bingley, this is too much, to remember at night all the foolish things that were said in the morning. And yet, upon my honor, I believe that what I said of myself to be true, and I believe it at this moment. At least, therefore, I did not assume the character of needless precipitance merely to show off before the ladies. I dare say you believed it, but I am by no means convinced that you would be gone with such celerity, quickness. There's a lot of words I've read but never read aloud, and so when I try to get them aloud, I just struggle with them. Your conduct would be quite as dependent on chance as that of any man I know. And if, as you were mounting your horse, a friend were to say, Bingley, you better stay till next week, you would probably do it. You would probably not go, and at another word, might stay a month. So they're close enough friends that Darcy knows him very well and feels comfortable to correct his own self-delusion. You have only proved by this, cried Elizabeth, that Mr. Bingley did not do justice to his own disposition. You have shown him off now much more than he did himself. I'm exceedingly gratified, said Bingley, by your converting what my friend says into a compliment on the sweetness of my temper. But I am afraid you are giving it a turn which that gentleman didn't by no means intend, for he would certainly think the better of me if under such a circumstance I were to give a flat denial and ride off as fast as I could. Would Mr. Darcy then consider the rashness of your original intention as atoned for by your obstinacy in adhering to it? Upon my word, I cannot exactly explain the matter. Darcy must speak for himself. You expect me to account for opinions which you choose to call mine, but which I have never acknowledged. Allowing the case, however, to stand according to your representation, you must remember, Miss Bennet, that the friend who is supposed to desire his return to the house and the delay of his plan has merely desired it, ask it without offering one argument in favor of its propriety. So this form of dialogue, we don't talk in this complicated way anymore. I kind of like it. I like to sit and have to decipher it and figure out what they're saying. To yield readily, easily to the persuasion of a friend is no merit with you. To yield without conviction is no compliment to the understanding of either. You appear to me, Mr. Darcy, to allow nothing for the influence of friendship and affection. A regard for the requester would often make one readily yield to a request without waiting for arguments to reason one into it. I am not particularly speaking of such a case as you have supposed about Mr. Bingley. We may as well wait, perhaps till the circumstance occurs, before we discuss the discretion of his behavior thereupon. But in general and ordinary cases between friend and friend, where one of them is desired by the other to change a resolution of no great moment, should you think ill of that person for complying with the desire without waiting to be argued into it? So what do you guys think? Who do you think is right or wrong, if that's really the question. Bingley was trying to say, I make quick, impulsive decisions, and that's a good thing about me. And Darcy saying, first of all, you're bragging about yourself by trying to look humble. What you're really saying is, I'm in control of my life. But the truth is, in a quick moment, in an impulsive moment, if someone tried to change your opinion, by Ace, if someone tried to change your opinion, then you would comply because you're a people pleaser. You want people to like you. And Elizabeth is jumping in, kind of trying to support him and saying, isn't that a good characteristic that you want to make other people, you want to yield to other people's opinions? So this is this long dialogue between Darcy and Bingley about who's the better person. Darcy's just very direct and he sees things almost in the mind of someone on the spectrum. Just it's very black and white. He analyzes everything and he just calls it. He doesn't think about how that makes someone's feelings, how feelings come into consideration. And Elizabeth is trying to help him see, you're being a little bit rude. Bingley is a person that we all like because in society, he knows the societal rules. And that's one of the things I think is interesting about teenagers. Teenagers often don't play by those societal rules. They're more like a Mr. Darcy, if you will. And those, Beatrice Cordero. Oh, Becco, were you going to say something? But there are always the Mr. Bingleys who are the charming, the popular kids. They know how to navigate everything. They never have the breakout on their face. They know what the current style and fashion is. And there are those that do it effortlessly and you truly like them. And then those that have learned to mimic it and model it. So you could say that the Mr. Bingleys and the Mr. Darcys represent types of people, which would be an interesting thesis statement to follow for an essay that you might need to do. Comment below or here if you understand what I'm indicating between these two characters. And I think Austen is trying to show us that about society and how society forms our preconceived ideas of behaviors and relationships. Will it not be advisable, before we proceed on this subject, to arrange with more precision the degree of importance which is to appertain to this request, as well as the degree of intimacy subsisting between the parties? By all means, cried Bingley, let us hear all the particulars, not forgetting their comparative height and size, for that will have more weight in the argument, Miss Bennet, than you may be aware of. I assure you that if Darcy were not such a great tall fellow in comparison with myself, I should not pay him half so much deference. So I do what he says because he's bigger than me. Do we believe that? Or is it good humor between them? Like, are they just joking with each other? I declare I do not know a more awful object than Darcy on particular occasions and in particular places, at his own house especially, and of a Sunday evening when he has nothing to do. Mr. Darcy smiled, but Elizabeth thought she could perceive that he was rather offended, and therefore checked her laugh. Miss Bingley warmly resented the indignity he had received in an expostulation with her brother for talking such nonsense. I see your design, Bingley, said his friend. You dislike an argument and want to silence this. Perhaps I do. Arguments are too much like disputes. If you and Miss Bennet will defer yours till I am out of the room, I shall be very thankful. And then you may say whatever you like of me. What you ask, said Elizabeth, is no sacrifice on my side, and Mr. Darcy had much better finish his letter. When that business was over, he applied to Miss Bingley and Elizabeth for the indulgence of some music. Miss Bingley moved with alacrity, quickness. That's going to be a word on the SAT. I see it all the time. It's ALACRITY. Hopefully y'all are following along. I'm on page 47. To the pianoforte, and after a polite request that Elizabeth would lead the way, which the other as politely and more earnestly negatived, she seated herself. Mrs. Hurst sang with her sister, and while they were thus employed, Elizabeth could not help observing, as she turned over some music books that lay on the instrument, how frequently Mr. Darcy's eyes were fixed on her. He's super interested. Hey, Kelly, I just said an update about you. I've missed you, by the way. I meant to write yesterday and got busy with work. Um, my dad told me something I didn't know, that he does not love Grapes of Wrath, and he would love it if I would read East of Eden. So I've been wrong all this time. I thought that was one of his favorites. Thoughts. That's just an interesting thought for Kelly and I. Could have probably kept that as a private conversation. I know, right? I was shocked. He feels the same way as I do, that it's very depressing. Although I think I've talked to you about what I think the ending does represent hope. He doesn't buy my theory on that. So we can talk about that on Messenger someday. I have a light day today, by the way. All right, so he's looking at her, he's liking her. She hardly knew how to suppose that she could be an object of admiration to so great a man, and yet that he should look at her because he disliked her was still more strange. She assumes he doesn't like her, and then why is he looking at me all the time? She's confused by his behavior. She could only imagine, however, at last, that she drew his notice because there was something about her more wrong and reprehensible, according to his ideas of right, than in any other person in the room present. The supposition did not pain her. She liked him too little to care for his approbation. So, okay, I don't care what this guy thinks of me. He's just a jerk. After playing some Italian songs, Miss Bingley varied the charm by a lively Scotch air, and soon afterwards Mr. Darcy, drawing near Elizabeth, said to her, "Do not you feel a great inclination, Miss Bennet, to seize such an opportunity of dancing a reel?" She smiled, but made no answer. He repeated the question with some surprise at her silence. "Oh," said she, "I heard you before, but I could not immediately determine what to say in reply. You wanted me to say, you wanted me, I know, to say yes, that you might have the pleasure of despising my taste. But I always delight in overthrowing those kinds of schemes and cheating a person of their premeditated contempt. She says, you're just asking me that to tease me so that you can say, oh, you want to dance? Well, that's stupid. Nobody here would want to dance. You just want to embarrass me. I have therefore made up my mind to tell you that I do not want to dance a reel at all, and now despise me if you dare." "Indeed, I do not dare." Elizabeth, having rather expected to confront insult, was amazed at his gallantry, like his politeness. But there was a mixture of sweetness and archness in her manner, which made it difficult for her to affront anybody. And Darcy had never been so bewitched by any woman as he was by her. So now we know explicitly that he's really interested in her. She doesn't know that. He really believed that were it not for the inferiority of her connections, he should be in some danger. So he's still proudful enough to say she's beneath me. She's not wealthy enough. She's not educated enough. She's not connected enough for me to be interested in her. But if she were, boy, she'd be in trouble because I would be going after her. So he's having feelings for her, and he's not used to everything he's ever done has been driven by intellect. Miss Bingley saw or suspected enough to be jealous, and her great anxiety for the recovery of her dear friend Jane received some assistance from her desire of getting rid of Elizabeth. So she's like, let me get Jane out of here, because when Jane's gone, Elizabeth's gone. And Elizabeth's a threat to me. So she does have interest in Darcy. So what point of view are we in here? I mean, obviously third person, but is it third person omniscient or third person limited? And if you guys are out there listening, answer. If you want, you can answer below. And always tell me why you think the answer is correct. Give me the support. Third person omniscient or third person limited. She often tried to provoke Darcy into disliking her guest by talking of their supposed marriage and planning his happiness in such an alliance. "I hope," said she, as they were walking together in the shrubbery next day, "you will give your mother-in-law a few hints, when this desirable event takes place, as to the advantage of holding her tongue, and if you can compass it, to do cure the younger girls of running after the officers. And if I may mention so delicate a subject, endeavor to check that little something bordering on conceit and impertinence which your lady possesses. Isn't she a bee? I bleeped that. She's trying to, the Washington Post wants to give me an update. I've silenced my laptop. Sorry about that. She is interested in him. She's trying to catch him by acting like she's not interested in him. We've all known girls like this. They go in and they talk dirty about you behind your back to the guy you like. And that's very high school stuff. Have you anything else to propose for my domestic felicity? Do you have anything else to say about my personal happiness? Oh, yes. Do let the portraits of your uncle and Aunt Phillips be placed in the gallery at Pemberley. Put them next to your great uncle, the judge. They are in the same profession, you know, only in different lines. As for your Elizabeth's picture, you must not attempt to have it taken, for what painter could do justice to those beautiful eyes? Oh, this character. It would not be easy indeed to catch their expression, but their color and shape and the eyelashes, so remarkably fine, must be copied, might be copied. At that moment, they were met from another walk by Mrs. Hurst and Elizabeth herself. I did not know that you intended to walk, said Miss Bingley in some confusion, lest they had been overheard. Oh, she's embarrassed now because she's been talking trash. You used us abominably ill, answered Mrs. Hurst, in running away without telling us that you were coming out. Then, taking the disengaged arm of Mr. Darcy, she left Elizabeth to walk by herself. The path just admitted 3. Mr. Darcy felt their rudeness and immediately said, "This walk is not wide enough for our party. We had better go into the avenue." But Elizabeth, who had not the least inclination to remain with them, laughingly answered, "No, no, stay where you are. You are charmingly grouped and appear to be uncommon advantage. The picturesque would be spoilt by admitting a 4th. Goodbye." So that's the best revenge, isn't it? She just doesn't care. She's just not interested in being in their group. And as a high school teacher, I would see this so often. That one child that was left out wanted so badly to be brought in and would spend all their energy trying to change their appearance, trying to change their attitude or the way they spoke to get into the group. And the truth is, that's not a group you want to be in if it treats you like that anyway. Make your own group, make your own fun, find your own thing to do. Great advice for high schoolers. Middle schoolers, really, by the time you're in 11th, 12th grade, most of you have sorted this out. Middle school is where it's the worst. She then ran gaily off, rejoicing as she rambled about in the hope of being at home again in a day or 2. Jane was already so much recovered as to intend leaving her room for a couple of hours that evening. And that is chapter 10. So I'm going to go on with my Saturday. I hope you guys are doing well in school. Hello, Samuel. Pigwav? I don't know. Tushar. Hello. You guys are jumping in because I'm going to say goodbye. This is my chit-chat time. Again, if you missed the beginning, go find a sweet book like this sweet one that my son sent me and just pick it up. And you can pick it up at any point and read anything you want. Let's see, a closing word. You see the sweet pages. I love this Winnie the Pooh feel to it. I've learned how to be in the present. Oh, good advice. How? Asked the boy. I find a quiet, this is the mole giving him his advice. Yeah, that's just I live in a little garden home. That's just my backyard view. I fixed one part of the fence, but not the other. I need to fix the other part. Hey, since I'm on chapter 10, so 10 chapters ago. You have to stay in the know, Mo. Come join Discord and we'll keep you up. So I've learned how to be in the present. How? Said the boy. I find a quiet spot and shut my eyes and breathe. Here's my quiet spot. Breathe. You guys do it too. That's good. And then I focus. What do you focus on? Cake, said the mole. And And here's one more. See, you can just read that and then you're done. Your little thought for the day. The next one. Isn't it odd? We can only see our outsides, but nearly everything happens on the inside. Ah, great thoughts. I really, really thank my son for giving me this book. It's perfect. I would encourage you guys to get it and just open it up randomly and look at the delight of that page and just enjoy it. Super good book. Or find something like that, like cake, as the mole says, that just makes you happy. It's been a tough year. It might get tougher. I don't know how involved your parents are in elections or if you're voting age, how involved you are. Venus, I wondered if you were working today. So find that happy, a flower in your hair, a cup of coffee that makes you feel good, a friend who laughs with you. This weekend, when I was with friends, they had Xbox, and here we all are, middle-aged, playing bowling and track and field and tennis and ping pong. And, we laughed and laughed and laughed. Just find something that makes you forget for a moment how everything is tough. A pretty view, enjoy your backyard, and have a great Saturday. I'll probably read tomorrow too. I'm trying to get through Pride and Prejudice. And if you haven't found us already on Discord, I will put a link when this is done. So read to you next time. We're getting close to 10,000. Woo! And subscribe, ring the bell. Thanks. It's just a little garden home. See, I don't have plants. I do have my aloe plant, but you can see I haven't done great with it. But I think every home should have an aloe plant. I do have my barbecue pit. I don't know if you can see it. Little teeny tiny one for a little teeny tiny home. But I use it a lot. Hey, Ruby, I thought you weren't here. All right, so I like those hand claps. Shout out to Papa. And I will read to you next time. See ya.